The Patton Report is a Boink Studios production. And now, on with the show.
Welcome back to the Patton Report, your weekly deep dive into everything happening across gaming and pop culture. I'm your host, Christopher Patton, and today we've got some interesting things to talk about. Before we get into that, I'm going to give a little shout out to what I've been watching. So, if you listen to Bachman's Basement, you've probably heard me talk a lot about the original OG Law and Order. I am now on season 4, so we're getting into some of the characters that stick around for quite some time as far as that goes. Also went and checked out the new Running Man. I liked it. There will be a podcast coming out, Bachman's Basement, once again, that'll be going into a deep dive of that movie in comparisons to the book and, probably the differences between the book and the movie itself. But as far as other things I've been watching film-wise, I checked out a 1988 classic that I had never seen before, which is the Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers. So it kind of tells you what kind of movie it's going to be. It's a American black comedy horror film directed by Fred Olin Ray. Not sure if he did anything else after this or not. I'd have to kind of go on a deep dive. But I did get the plot before starting the episode to talk about that a bit. And the plot is basically the private detective Jack Chandler tries to track down Samantha, a teenage runaway. He runs into a cult of Egyptian chainsaw-worshipping prostitutes led by the Stranger. And the thing that cracked me up the most about this movie, outside of just how ridiculous it is on paper for a 1980s B horror film, but it starts the film with this tagline that says, "They charge an arm and a leg." And then it begins with a disclaimer. The chainsaws used in this motion picture are real and dangerous. They are handled here by seasoned professionals. The makers of this motion picture advise strongly against anyone attempting to perform these stunts at home, especially if you're naked and about to engage in strenuous sex. The film ends with a promise of a sequel, The Student Chainsaw Nurses, which was never made. I love stuff like this, stuff that's just so campy and going out of its way to poke fun at its own self. I think that, there should be a little bit more of that in modern Hollywood. A good example of that recently would be like The Monkey. I think The Monkey kind of knew what it was and didn't try too hard to be something that it wasn't, right? Which I appreciated. So this week we're actually going to be going over some gaming releases for December. It is the Christmas season. Things that you can buy the gamer, your loved gamer in your life, or your nieces or nephews. We got some big ones here coming out first. We're going to start with Marvel Comic Invasion. It's a cosmic scale Marvel beat 'em up game from Tribute Games, combining tag team mechanics, retro pixel art, and a massive roster of various Marvel heroes. If you have a favorite Marvel character, more than likely they're going to end up in this game. It is going to be out for Xbox, PlayStation, PC, etc. Basically, players will be building duos of Marvel heroes, examples being like Spider-Man, Wolverine, Captain America, Phoenix, Iron Man, and battling through various galactic locations such as the Negative Zone in New York City as the Annihilation Wave threatens the universe. Includes both local and online co-op, which is fun. There's not enough of that out there today. In it being a beat-em-up game, it kind of gives me the vibe of kind of what they did with the last Ninja Turtles game, which I really, really enjoyed. It has a switch system that will allow you to switch characters mid-combat. So like if you're Wolverine, you should be able to switch into like Cyclops or something, depending on the situation and the fight that you're in. And that kind of makes me think, man, I really wish they would make another X-Men Legends game. It's a completely different thing in its own right. It's more of a traditional point-and-click battle game, where this is like more of like a beat-em-up action RPG type deal. But I really miss those games. Those are great games that no one ever talks about, X-Men Legends 1 and X-Men Legends 2. Maybe I'll do a deep dive on those at some point. But just phenomenal games that kind of have been overlooked through time. But I'm gonna check this one out. I mean, anything that's got like local co-op play or good beat 'em up play like that. Like I said, that the last Ninja Turtles game that came out. I'm always down. I'm always looking for something to play with people that's not too serious. Every time I get online, I don't want to be balls deep in an Overwatch League battle and comp. Um, or just playing Call of Duty. There's other games out there. There's some. I feel like that there hasn't. I'm sure like if you're into first person shooters, there's tons of stuff out there. If you're into battle royale games, there's tons of stuff out there. But for just like someone looking to play a casual game with his friend, co-op, there's not as many as there used to be, man. Like the Unraveled games are pretty good. Some of the horror games that came out were pretty good. A Way Out is great. If you haven't played A Way Out, it's a prison escape game that's multiplayer. It's a ton of fun, especially playing online. So stuff like that, just looking forward to more things like that. And then that leads us to our next release. This one will be Nintendo Switch 2 only. And it's one that a lot of people have been waiting for a long time, and that is Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. That's coming out December 4th. The long-awaited entry in Nintendo's Metroid Prime franchise from Retro Studio Islands on both Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2. So I was wrong. It is coming out on Nintendo Switch, normal Nintendo Switch as well. It's promising that it's going to be 4K res, 120 frames per second. We'll see. That would be the Nintendo 2 specs. I would highly doubt that it's actually going to run at that, but we'll see. I guess the proof is going to be in the pudding when this game comes out. Nintendo tries their best to deliver on promises like that, so we'll see. The description of the game is basically Samus returns to the frontier on planet Vuros using psychic powers in a new motorcycle called the Vi-Ola to explore dangerous terrain and fend off space pirates. The Switch 2 version adds mouse compatibility controls with enhanced graphics, and this is definitely the biggest release of Nintendo for December. Kirby Riders just came out. That's probably, that's more of like the kid-friendly game that came out. That's the big one. But yeah, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is definitely the one that I think they're hoping to boost console sales and also have some good game sales coming in. Another one coming out for Switch 2 is Assassin's Creed Shadows. This isn't necessarily new for anyone else out there, but for Nintendo Switch 2, this is a new entry of the Assassin's Creed games, if you're into those. I've never been a huge fan, but I know a lot of people really love them, so I wanted to talk about it here. It's a new entry in Assassin's Creed's franchise built specifically for Nintendo Switch 2, combining open-world stealth in feudal Japan setting. Players take on dual protagonist missions under the scorching skies of Edo-era Japan, leveraging Switch 2's hardware for ambient stealth, large-scale hunts, and dynamic day and night gameplay. Anticipated as a major console exclusive for the holiday season. So I was actually incorrect. I guess this Assassin's Creed is only on the Switch 2. So if you're an Assassin's Creed fan and you play all of these games and don't have a Switch 2, maybe this will lure you into buying one. I'm not sure. I don't know what the crossover on that looks like. But yeah, that's big news if you're an Assassin's Creed fan. Next up, we got Destiny 2 Renegades. That's across all platforms, with the exception of Switch. So PC, PS5, PS4, Xbox Series, and Xbox One. It's just the next expansion pack for them, but it is promising fresh new raids, a reimagined light versus dark story arc, and cross-gen support, meaning if you're on Xbox One, you should be able to play with people that are on Xbox Series S, I would assume. I'm assuming that's the same thing for cross-platform, as far as playing with your friends, which would be a big leap for them. I have not kept up with Destiny. In fact, it's one of the more disappointing runs. I really enjoyed Destiny 2's campaign and played through it and beat the first raid, and then I felt like there was nothing to do and put the game down for about 8 months, and they continued to release DLC packs. And since then, I've switched consoles from the original Xbox One to one of the newer. I'm on the Series S for Xbox, and just trying to get back into the game and buy back into that game. You can't just start playing from the campaign again, and you can't really, like, buying the package of that game is really weird. Like, finding what to actually buy, like, even if you go on like Reddit and look up like, what should I buy if I want to play this game? It's not very straightforward as far as what version of the game you need to buy, what content that's going to include, how that plays. So I'm kind of curious on what they're going to do with this new DLC. Maybe it's something I'll dabble back into. I mean, I have hundreds and hundreds of hours of Destiny 1 and a couple of hundred hours in Destiny 2, but it's just a game that I have not picked back up or thought about. Some of that is some of the friends I had that played it stopped playing it. But a lot of it was that, I took a break off, came back, 2 or 3 DLCs behind, went to go play the campaign. Campaign no longer exists. It's a really weird, it like rotates in and out story missions that you can play. It's not as linear. It's more focused on the online side of things, I guess. Not for me. Kind of disappointing from what Destiny 1 was to Destiny 2. That being said, the Destiny 2, when you can play the campaign, when you can actually play the entire story campaign, I thought it was really, really well done and a lot of fun. And I played through with, each of the classes. But I think it's something that's going to be really hard to get me back into, especially this late in the game. Sleep Awake is the next title we'll be talking about. That's coming out December 2nd, 2025. It's a narrative horror thriller from an indie studio combining surreal sleepwalking mechanics with psychological drama. Players awaken in a mysterious facility shifting between dream and wake states to evade pursuers and uncover large layers of memory. Built for adult players looking for a tense, story-driven gameplay in the holiday window. So this is going to be more of like a horror psychological thriller video game. Sounds interesting. I like the idea of having a game where you're shifting between like a dream and wake state. So you have the real world versus the nightmare world, or and what is it in Stranger Things, the upside down. Sounds interesting. I might check it out if it shows up on Game Pass or something. I'm not huge into playing like horror games, with the exception of like Resident Evil pretty much Resident Evil. That's really the only one I play. I did like some of the Alien games that they came out with early on, but yeah, I just not really in my wheelhouse most of the time. That brings us to the next release on the game, which is Let It Die Inferno. And it's a revamped and expanded version of the cult hit Let It Die. If you've never played this game, I recommend checking it out. It's pretty fun. And this is a PS5 only release. Actually, it's on PC as well, so you will be able to play this on PC. But yeah, it includes some enhanced story campaigns, expanded tower climbs, co-op boss fights, which seems really fun, and full drop in and out multiplayer. It's going to be late holiday, so I don't know if this is coming out. It says December 3rd here on the release. It'll be interesting to see if that's the actual release date or not, because I'm not 100% sure on that. So if you go online and it's not December 3rd, apologies. My notes could be bad here. But yeah, this is a fun game. If you're looking for something that's probably not going to be at a starting point of $70 and you want something new to play over the holiday break, might be one to check out. Brings us to our next game, which is Cloudheim. It's a Steam early access game, December 4th, 2025. If you watch Neebs Gaming, they've played some of this game on their site, on their YouTube channel. It looks interesting. It is very much like a Apex. It's a survival game, so it's survival sandbox experience dropping into early access on Steam, blending voxel style buildings with emergent multiplayer chaos is the tagline for the game. It is very much one of those games. If you don't like those games, this game is probably not going to be for you. The last one of these that I really played was Conan the Barbarian, which I enjoyed. Mostly because I like Conan, I guess. Just nostalgia of thinking about the movie. But yeah, like the interesting. I don't know. It seems kind of cool from what I've seen of the gameplay wise, like through Neebs Gaming and a few other YouTube channels. But it's not something that really just struck me as like I need to go play this and find other people to play with. But if you're into these survival type games, it'll give you something new to do at the very least. The next game on our list is Skate Story, which is coming out December 8th, 2025. This game seems really, really neat to me, and I want to see some more gameplay of it before I commit to it. But it's coming out on PC, PS5, and Switch 2, so if you have any of those platforms, you'll be able to pick this up. It is a stylized indie skateboarding adventure with a layering narrative and craft mechanics into urban free roam is what it's claiming to be. And the description is basically you can ride through a neon lit cityscape, linking tricks to story beats, customizing your board, and unlocking hidden zones. It sounds really really neat. I like the idea of that. I'm always up for a good skateboard game as long as the mechanics feel good. That's the real nail in the coffin, right? Like if it doesn't feel good to play, then you're not going to want to play it. I think we're a generation that were ruined by how good those Tony Hawk games were and how good a lot of the Tony Hawk clones were. Not that this game is designed to be anything like that, but like the core gameplay, the mechanics, that all needs to feel really, really good for me to be interested in it. But it is cool. I like, it's been a while since we had like the open world. It's almost like, it kind of just makes you want a Tony Hawk Underground again. Can we get another Tony Hawk Underground? I liked those games a lot. Like a more story driven Tony Hawk. I did like all the Tony Hawk Pro Skater remasters, but something like this on that level would be really, really cool. I'm excited to see what this looks like, what this thing is. I've only seen a little bit of the gameplay. It looks really, really neat. So we'll see. Definitely one that I'm looking forward to seeing more about once it releases on December 8th. We get some more gameplay from some other people. But yeah, it's definitely something I want to check out. The next game on the list is Unbeatable. It's a multiplayer fight fest brawler where you're jumped into varied arenas, gear up custom heroes, and compete in holiday tournaments. I don't know too much about this one. It seems like this is aimed for like multiplayers. I'm trying to think of like I can't think of the name of that game. You're almost like a little clay figure, and you fight each other on top of a building. Like you fight each other on top of buildings. You try to throw each other off. It kind of has some wacky grab mechanics, and I can't think of the name of it yet. But it kind of seems like something like that. Something you probably could play with your friends, drink a couple beers, have a good time with. Yeah, it's interesting. It's on the list, so thought I'd mention it. Don't know too much about it. A big one on this list that I'm really looking forward to and really looking forward to jumping back in. It was my game of the year, the game it was released, which is Yakuza Zero's Director's Cut. It's a definitive re-release of the critically acclaimed game Yakuza Zero, critically acclaimed by me as the critic. No, just kidding. It's well loved in general, but it's rebuilt with modern graphical and gameplay upgrades for the new gen system. So we're talking, higher res, better frames per second, better graphics. I think they went in and re-recorded some audio. There's some new side quests. There's enhanced running speeds for your characters, so you can move around the map a little faster. Additional story content. This is great. This is gonna be awesome. I'm really looking forward to playing that game again. I've played it twice. Third time is right around the corner. As soon as this gets released on the 8th, this is one that I'm for sure picking up and will not regret picking up. I think these games are incredible. If you're wanting to get into the Kiwami releases that I talked about for Nintendo Switch, which I believe just came out, Nintendo Switch 2, this Director's Cut is, as far as I know, is not coming out on Switch 2 yet. It's coming out on PC, PS5, and Xbox is what I have listed here. But if you have any of those consoles and you wanted to play the Kiwami releases on your Switch 2, I would recommend playing this first. This is kind of the prequel to any of the Kiwami games. It's also, I think, the best in the series. It's the one that I love the most, so it would be the one that I would tell you to start with. If you don't have those, and the Kiwami series 1 and 2 that they're releasing on Switch 2, those are great games as well. Very different. They were created in a different era and then remastered and put out with that collection. So they do have some things about them that inherently are not as good as Yakuza 0. Like as far as the fighting systems and things go, it's a little different. Still fun games, great games, not as good as Yakuza 0. Love them still, but I would say if you have the choice, start with Yakuza 0 first, and then move on from there. And the last one, which is kind of unique, and it's something I look forward to. It's a 2D action platformer set in the Terminator universe. It's combining stylish pixel art, run-and-gun mechanics, and branching narrative paths. So basically, you take control of a future resistant soldier. You can toggle between stealth and combat. And you got to be careful to not alter timelines to avoid Judgment Day altogether. That seems really, really fun. Love a good 2D platformer. Hopefully this is good. It's got the Terminator license. Don't get a lot of good Terminator games. as a big Terminator 2 fan, and well, original Terminator as well, I have a soft spot in my heart for Terminator. So please, please, please let this be a good game. It's something I want to check out and look forward to. Now we're going to get to the main topic of the show. A little pink ball known as Kirby, the star of the show, so to speak. We're going to talk a little bit about the history and how Kirby came to be and where he is now. Kirby wasn't originally created as a flagship character. In fact, he started as a placeholder. The creator, Masahiro Sakurai, and his studio, HAL Laboratory, came out with this little game that went on to be a huge hit, which is Kirby's Dream Land. It came out in 1992 on the Game Boy, which we've talked about previously, specifically in the Pokemon episode. If you go back and listen to that, there's some more details on what Game Boy was doing during this time period. And the original Kirby design was temporary. It was meant to be a test animation, but the team kind of just grew attached to it. It was simple, cute, and instantly recognizable. And one question that came up was, why is he pink? A lot of people are like, why did they choose to make Kirby pink? Well, the Game Boy was black and white, so players didn't actually see Kirby's color until promotional art. Sakurai wanted him pink. Miyamoto originally pictured him as yellow, so more Pikachu-like, I would assume. Sakurai won, and the rest kind of just goes down in history of the pink little lovable Kirby, or pink little menace, depending on if you're a Smash player or not. Kirby, why he is important. I think the thing about Kirby that's really unique that people forget about is how innovative it was, and the fact that it's kind of used as a test platform, which we'll get into for a lot of other things Nintendo likes to do. First thing is the accessibility in the game design. Kirby was intentionally easy, designed to be a first platformer for new players. You got to think about the Game Boy coming out. A lot of people bought the Game Boy for Tetris. The Game Boy and Tetris are forever linked in time together. So the idea of creating a new platformer with a new character and making it slightly easier, which Kirby Dream Land by no means is a very difficult game, the idea is that it's more accessible for anyone picking that up. They pick up Kirby Dream Land, they can play through it, they can beat the game, they can have a good time with it. It's not overly difficult. It also came with adjustable difficulty later on, but the philosophy, as far as Kirby goes, you have adjustable difficulty. It comes in later with later games. But the philosophy still kind of remains the same. It needs to be approachable, welcoming, and fun. And I think that's what I love about Kirby. Like, you don't have to, in a world where you have like Super Meat Wad and some of these crazy intense platformers, there's still room for a Kirby, something that everyone can play and have a good time with. And Mario gets more complex with each passing game to some extent, becoming more 3D and very different than what it was to start out with. I think that, that's what makes Kirby so fun. It's something you don't necessarily have to grind on all day. You can just pick it up, play it, have a good time. I love Kirby. I love the character. A lot of fun. The thing that they're also kind of known for is like innovation through the ability of copying, kind of Kirby's main party trick, right? It's Kirby's signature ability is to inhale enemies, copying their powers, and that was, at its time, was very revolutionary. The only other game that's kind of like that, and it's not really eating them and getting those powers, would be like Mega Man, right? Like, so Mega Man, you kill a thing, you get their power once you beat that boss. My notes here said that it influenced Mega Man. I would say Mega Man was out first, so I don't really think that's true. But definitely you could say that design between Mega Man and Kirby had influenced a lot of other games going forward, like Shovel Knight, right, for instance, and, customizable movement and customizable moves. So, but yeah, it allows a character to use dozens of abilities without cluttered controls. It was very simple. You suck up the enemy and you get their power. That's it. And then that feeds into Smash Brothers, right, which is legendary if you're a Kirby fan. Kirby gets a lot of hate in Smash Brothers. There was a time period where the top player in the world was, I can't think of his name. Man got a crab thrown at him because of his Kirby gameplay was holding back the rest of the Smash community. So Smash players are, I think, with Kirby, it's a love-hate relationship, right? Like, you either love him or you hate him. HAL Laboratory survival was pending. Like, they were in desperate need, struggling financially. They kind of had come out with some golf simulation games, and by the early '90s, they were, about to close up shop, basically. And Kirby's success with this Kirby's Dream Land on the 1992 release on Game Boy, it saved the studio. And as a result, HAL's always remained closely tied to Nintendo and leading to major franchises like Super Smash and all of the other games that they've worked on. But if it's not for this pink little ball with the ability to eat whatever he wants, maybe you don't even get Smash. Smash may never happen without HAL. So it's just crazy to think about how that links up in time. And then, the other thing about Kirby with Nintendo is Kirby is always kind of used as a test bed for new tech. With whenever Nintendo comes out with a new console, they have some new fun gimmick. They like to use Kirby as part of that. So, like, a good example, as far as Kirby games pushing experimental engines or mechanics, you got Kirby's Canvas Curse. That introduced kind of stylus gameplay on the DS, and kind of how that evolved throughout the years, which, by the way, going back and playing some of those Pokemon DS games with the stylus and being able to use the stylus to throw the ball, or just click on the screen with your finger if you're like me, that's incredible. I love that. There's a great DS emulator out there. I know I'm kind of getting off topic here, but there's a DS emulator for Android called Melon. Has that touchscreen control, and I absolutely love playing Pokemon games and other DS games in that emulator. So, not saying get that and download ROMs, but like also get that and download some ROMs. It's really great. I'm sure they have an Apple version as well. I don't have iPhone, so I'm not sure. Another example of this would be Kirby's Epic Yarn. Experimental with its art style, some new game mechanics. Once again, some of the controls for the Wii U. Kirby and the Forgotten Land was HAL's transition to full 3D. They were one of the first to do it. Mario being ahead of them as far as that goes, but definitely one of the first. And Kirby is often where new ideas are tested before going to larger franchises, believe it or not. So things that would be in a Kirby game might end up in a Mario game later on, right? So it's kind of cool how that works and the flow between those two things with Nintendo. And as far as like cultural impact and, the love, Kirby represents positivity, resiliency, creativity. And despite being cute, he's canonically one of the strongest characters in Nintendo lore. He's capable of defeating gods, cosmic horrors, and demons, anything with a smile, right? Just by eating other people's flowers. The contrast between his appearance and hidden powers has become a staple of Nintendo humor to some extent. It's kind of, you think about some of the great Nintendo advertising with Kirby with various different powers, different hats and stuff throughout the years. It's iconic. I mean, to me, he is the second mascot of Nintendo, and then probably, Link. Well, there'd be 1, 2, and 3, right? Like Mario, Kirby, Link, whatever order you want to put them in. They're the most iconic. For the best-selling games and must-play games, Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Switch, incredible game. Probably my favorite Kirby game. Definitely one that I recommend everyone go play. Kirby Star Allies, also a great game. Kirby's Dream Land, which is the one that the gameplay, if you're watching the video version of this, you're seeing me fight King Dedede in the background right now. And Kirby Superstar. Kirby Superstar is a game that I've played so many times and still love to this day. If I had to pick one, a must-play right now, I would say Kirby and the Forgotten Land. And then after that, probably Kirby Superstar. And then follow that up with Kirby Dream Land. Kirby Dream Land's really good. A lot of people might have a little bit of... I don't know what re-releases they've done for Kirby Dream Land, but going back to the original Game Boy version, a lot of people have... If you're a younger gamer, you might have trouble just with the black and white or the green and black concept of Game Boy. I could see that. It's not for everybody. It's kind of like when you show someone a black and white film from the 50s, they might not like that just because it's black and white or it's old. Definitely had shown movies to people before, and they're like, I don't like this. It's too old. It looks too old. So I totally get that. I feel like that when I play some PlayStation games, like go back and revisit PlayStation graphically, some of that stuff is really rough. Even if you love the games, it's still really, really rough depending on the game. So I get that. So my closing thoughts for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. December gaming is relatively light compared to the fall as far as what we're getting, but the releases we are getting do seem pretty strong and unique and full of variety. Tons of stuff is being added to Game Pass this year. PlayStation Plus has a great mixture of genres, and Nintendo Online is also adding a bunch of Kirby titles, and that ties perfectly in today's deep dive. Kirby's legacy is one of creativity, accessibility, and subtle brilliance. He's the character who started as a placeholder and became one of Nintendo's most beloved icons, a symbol of joy, experimentation, and charm. Thanks for listening to this week's Patton Report. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe to the podcast, check out Boink Studios and all my other projects, and have a great week.